13 Questions by Man Transcending. Manhood in the Digital Age.
Welcome back to another episode of 13 Questions. This time, we are joined by not only Adam Loyal, but past host and guest, Darren Grimes. Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
I'm good. I guess I was a host. I wonder how many episodes. Not many.
37.
Well, enough for you
many?
to forget.
Was it that many?
I think so. I mean, I came in at 38, so.
Huh.
Now what number are we on,
Adam
Bill?
was doing it for a long time before you came in, I think.
Yeah, he was. I forget. I did listen to your episode today just to do a little show prep before we got started, but this will be episode 108, which is, it's got some esoteric meaning behind it, number 108. So I think it's only fitting that we have a returning star guest, Darren, with us. So thank you for joining us. And this will be our first repeat too. So that's exciting. I haven't had a repeat guest yet.
I don't know about a star guest, but a repeat guest for sure. And it'll be good to come back. I was in probably a weird place when I did that last one. I was right on the tail end of a bad marriage that had been on the rocks for a couple of years and was kind of just falling apart. So I was probably a little tepid about what I was saying and in a weird place. So it'll be interesting to come back. I didn't listen to it, but I did check the date because it was interesting. I think it was around the beginning of April of 2019. And it was like May 27th that I had the incident that was sort of the deal breaker that ended my marriage, that I was like, okay, I can't deal with that. So probably within 2 months of that interview, I was living in that studio.
Wow. Living in the studio.
Well, not for long, for a few months, 2 or 3 months before I could find, I found a basement apartment, and then, here we are today, back into a nice house. Got everything I need.
Yeah. Well, something new that we've been doing, speaking of firsts on the show, we like to do a gratitude segment before or on the intros now. That's a new addition, relatively new, but the idea behind that was just to get us thinking about something that we're thankful about, right? Which was inspired by you, Darren, really, because you had issued a challenge, or somebody had sent something in the Discord a while back about accountability and having 3 things to be grateful about every day, right? So we decided to kind of message each other for a while. That didn't last too long. Some of us in the Discord kept it up for a little bit anyway, but I just thought it was a really cool way to, a good practice to absolutely, like, pattern breaking for sure, but why not just start your day with it? So I figured, why not start each episode with a gratitude segment in which we share something that we are grateful for. And I asked Sir Felix Ortega to make a jingle for us, which he did. So this is how that goes.
Gratitude, 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 oh gratitude. Gratitude, 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 oh gratitude.
I'll go first, and I guess I get to kind of cheat this time because I've been holding out on the package that Adam sent me. I received it in the mail, I don't know, probably a week and a half ago now. And it's been sitting here, and I've been looking at it and saving it just for this, so we can do kind of like a live unboxing. So I'm going to open it now, and we'll see what's.
What if it's like a divorce letter or something?
It's I'm being subpoenaed.
Or pink slip?
They call me Uni Adam.
Last package I got from Adam was a bunch of crazy passwords wrapped up in tinfoil.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. That's my paranoia, right? Send them in the mail, wrapped in foil so that they can't be screened by the light scanners.
I was like, what is this?
Oh, that way I could just say, hey, password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got a copy. You got a copy. And then you can just switch.
It is clever. Never used it though. I wonder what I did with it. The bus is probably still around here somewhere.
Well, if you find it, make a copy, send it to somebody.
Why?
Well, then you'd have a password list that's secure.
With somebody? Somebody I might want to share passwords with? The only person I share passwords with is Graham.
I think I've got a.
You probably do, you son of a bitch.
I got to post a Libsyn.
You probably got access to a bunch of stuff.
All right, so this is definitely a stone of some sort. It was in a nice clear specimen box. And it looks like it's a, what do they call it? It's a certain name for the cut when it's shaped like that. Specifically neutral jewelry. It looks like it's purple. Oh, yeah, you can kind of see through it. Oh, wow. Got a little white streak in it, kind of like the chevron amethyst.
So this is called, it's a blue opal, and it's called an OWYHEE, Awahi, I guess. Not real familiar with it, but I found some on eBay on a posting. I bought it, and it felt amazing. So, yeah, I found a similar stone and got it for you, Mr. Bill.
Cool. I got my flashlight on it right now. Yeah, it definitely changes colors depending on quality, intensity of the light.
Yep, you got a white streak in the center and that clear opal on the sides.
Hell yeah. Super cool. And it's already jewelry ready made. So all I got to do is just find a string to slip it on.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing how you feel with it.
Is
Yeah,
the old Grimerica Discord still a thing? No, right?
the old one?
Is there still a Discord?
There is. Grimsteak actually goes in there every morning and says morn. And then I think somebody posts one meme and then the pattern repeats every day.
Oh, yeah. What? So people are still in there?
No, just two.
Okay.
It's Grim, and I think like Zach Hawkins.
What? Weird.
And the lurker Bill.
It is.
They should just
vital.
open it back up again. I still try and just open it back up. I don't give a fuck what happens. I ain't going in there though. I don't agree with Discord's policies.
That's fine. Tell Grim, he'll open it up.
Oh, does he have the power? Okay, I'll tweet him.
Yeah.
I think he does. He used to. He used to have some pretty good control over there. He can turn that place into some chaos.
I'll tell Kansas just busted open. Let the kids play. I don't give a fuck. I just wanted everyone to go into the other chat, but at this point, who cares? Whoever came over is going to come over. They can go in the Discord and finish getting it nuked. Actually, maybe I'll go in there and do a good meme dump. I've got a pretty good meme folder on my phone with a couple hundred of the dankest memes around. I'll go dump them in there, see what Discord comes up with.
Oh yeah.
What kind of rock was that? Or is that what you're grateful for?
Oh yeah. Adam sent me.
It's a blue opalite, yeah. Or blue opal, I'm sorry.
I don't know much about crystals.
Oh, that's okay. We'll get into it after we get done with the segment. If you wanted to share something, you don't have to. I mean, you're a guest. You don't have to do anything you don't want to.
Well, I'm grateful for a bunch of stuff, but I'll let Adam go first.
I'm grateful for robust engineering. I think specifically in my car, I've got an old car that runs just well made, well built, 30 years old almost. And machines like that, where the thought, the intent, you have ideas built on top of ideas that are built there for the robustness of time, of function, of making things work. And I absolutely just love everything that comes together in just that making things robust as opposed to a disposable world. So, yeah, the philosophy of just that type of engineering, because it really is everything. Whether you look at anything in your life, if you have that type of philosophy, we can build our future forever to be great.
Totally. See, this is kind of synchronistic because I just made a post this morning on my social media about how I was feeling more grateful than I had in a while. Now, I don't know if it has something to do with all the mushrooms I ate last weekend or the 3 or 4 days I spent hunting this weekend. Maybe it's a mix of both. But I was feeling grateful for a lot of stuff. I could go on and on, but I think I'll just go with the one that I ended up because I still do. I don't have my journal anymore. I don't do the 3 gratitudes every day because I still could, but I found it was just maybe a good tool to get my mind set into the right spot where I don't need that. I mean, it would still
Start
be
the
a good
routine,
practice.
then it starts to diesel on its
Yeah,
own.
I just kind of feel that, not all the time, but a lot of the time. And I mean, I was just today, whenever I have my bath, which is, a few days a week, not every day, but, maybe every other day, that always involves, some gratitude and
Is it
that
salt
sort of
bath?
stuff. But I went with, salt water, totally salt water. Exactly. You know what I'm talking about. And a little coconut oil so you don't dry out.
Ooh.
So today I went with my feet because, I walked 40 miles. I was just telling Bill before we started recording, I walked, 60 kilometers, 40 miles over the last 2.5 days, 3 days hunting. And, it's over prairies, hills, poles, up hills. I think it was something like 70 stories climbed or something like that on my pedometer. But, I had a real scare, like, would have been June 17th. Because I don't really drink, I'll have a glass of wine or two, but I don't get drunk sort of most of the time, at a wedding maybe. And, the other time is at an event. And I had a few too many glasses of wine at the Montana event with Randall Carlson and friends. And I jumped off the roof of this van and I landed on a sprinkler head. And I don't know if my ankle was broken or just jarred or sprained or strained or what happened. Cause I never ever, I got an x-ray thing, but I never ever went and got the x-ray. I had crutches for the first 2 days. And then I just found that if I tightened my work boot up good and tight, it was pretty okay. So I was able to get around without limping within like a week and a half. So I was like, oh, this is nothing. But then like, fuck, dude, it was like probably the third week of August, and there was a bunch of positions that if it went in, it still like hurt. I couldn't really even like this weekend was probably the first time I was really trying some like running out in the country, up hills, down hills, like
Maybe it
not
tore, stretched some ligaments out.
could have totally been something like that, but it's feeling back. I mean, having a bad ankle or a bad foot, you feel fucking vulnerable. Like, if something goes down, you're fucked because you've only got, 1 foot. So, and hunting season was coming up, but I was able to go out all weekend, walk 40 miles with no trouble. It's not sore at all. So I was feeling pretty grateful just for my feet that they work good, that they can carry me through all that. And, I could go back out tomorrow. I'm not going to. I'm going to take a few days off, but, they work great. So,
Dr. Darren letting his body do the job.
well, I think we're probably meant to be walking 15 miles a day.
Absolutely.
It's probably good for your hips and your bowel. It's probably good for everything, top to bottom.
For your
Oh,
back.
yeah.
And you really like work out your thoughts one step at a time. You kind of got to pay attention, but not really. It's that really, I think it was either like, it might have been Nietzsche or Dostoevsky that had something about walking to clear his brain or to formalize his thoughts. I might be making that up. I don't know.
Been patterning my breath when I go out for walks. I take the dog and I'll do 4 inhales through the nose and then 3 out through the mouth and then repeat the pattern. Kind of like a walking, breathing meditation.
Nice.
But anyway, speaking of meditating and another first on the show, we do have a gratitude jar working now. And what that does is it helps facilitate, once again, the heart-mind connection. We just did the gratitude jingle, right? We had the gratitude segment, so we've got the gratitude feeling going on in our hearts, our heart space, and now the gratitude jar in it is going to help us facilitate it and connecting it up to the crown area, our energy centers up there, which are violet or purple. And so we've had a lot of stones of the violet ray. I don't know exactly how many, but I did list them all out on episode 098, which is the aliencarvings.com episode, which is really interesting. If you guys haven't checked that out yet, definitely give that a listen. But all the ones I listed on there are purple. But today we're going to add our first blue stone to our gratitude working jar altar. And that stone today is azurite. And so I do have just a couple entries from our encyclopedias that we've been using. The first one is from Robert Simmons in the Book of Stones. Robert tells us that no stone is a purer embodiment of the blue ray than azurite. Its rich dark blue color carries the exact frequency of the third eye chakra and is a natural tool for the activation of that energy center. Azurite is a stone of inner vision and can be used for the enhancement of dreams as well as the development of psychic powers. It can stimulate intellect as well as intuition, and it is a helpful aid for those who are studying new or challenging subjects. It is recommended that anyone who is a student, including being a student of life, carry or wear an azurite to aid them in the assimilation and retention of new information and ideas. Azurite can also facilitate the agility of mind required to make conceptual leaps and reach new insights. Azurite can be used to strengthen the astral and etheric bodies, making one less vulnerable to psychic attack or attachments. It can be used to seal holes in the aura, thus alleviating tendencies to succumb to fatigue. It stimulates all the mind centers, nourishing within the self a keen interest in all aspects of one's life and function in society. It is an excellent antidote to boredom, since it opens one's inner eye to a wide array of connections and possibilities. Those engaged in academic pursuits may find that azurite makes it easier to retain clarity and focus while studying. It can certainly assist one in making new connections between seemingly unrelated fields of knowledge. It is a stone of synthesis, whereby the discovery of new commonalities and links between different ideas leads to higher levels of understanding of life and the world. And so that's what Robert Simmons has to say about azurite. And just because we like to do good research here and have multiple sources, we're also going to pull from Judy Hall's Encyclopedia of Crystals. Named from azure, meaning blue, go figure, azurite has long been used to guide psychic development and increase metaphysical powers, especially when placed on the third eye. A favorite stone in ancient Egypt, it raises consciousness to the highest level, facilitates a meditative channeling state, urges the soul toward enlightenment, and controls spiritual unfoldment. The stone can bring about profound multidimensional cellular reprogramming. A powerful healing stone and energy conduit, azurite facilitates understanding of the effects of the mind on the body, and with its high copper content, amplifies energy flow through the nervous system. This crystal enables journeys out of the body to take place safely. And then lastly, excellent for the mind and mental processes, azurite challenges your view of reality, releasing programmed belief systems so that you move on to the unknown without fear. It assists someone who talks too much out of nervousness and provides mental healing at many levels, drawing out emotional debris and ancient fears, cleanses the emotional body and brings about inner peace. If a healing crisis occurs, azurite gently brings things back into balance. So, with that, I'm now going to place my little chunk of azurite here next to our gratitude jar.
Sounds like a harmonious stone for the jar.
Hell yeah. All of our stones are great stones. But yeah, to get your name in the gratitude jar, since we are value for value, and we are over 100 episodes now, I mean, that's a lot of value. If you find any value in what you just heard or any of the past conversations that we've had, just simply make any donation to the show, one time or recurring, any amount, and I will write your name in purple ink and add it to the other names in the jar. And this will be surrounded by the stones that we've been covering recently in the intros, at least since episode 98. So yeah, we've been doing that for a while now, and it is an ongoing thing. It's a working, right? So it's an experiment. We're going to see what happens. So yeah,
Fun.
and man, I got to say, like, after doing some of these readings out of the encyclopedia, like, I have a new appreciation for anybody that does audiobooks, like you guys. So
I don't. So that's mostly for now. I can't do it. I tried. I was like, this is not for me.
Dude, I get out of breath.
I could just shoot. I shoot from the hip, and I can't read shit. I can read, but not. I don't want to read into a microphone. It slows me down a little too much. I gotta oof.
I find it hard to retain when I'm reading out loud.
And I get frustrated when I fuck up.
tongue twisted or whatnot. But it has been fun doing research and sharing with everybody. So, yeah, with that, I think we don't really have a little segment into the questions.
Oh well, we really do need to, because we got to roll the intro music for the bumper. The bumper's got to roll.
See that? And this is 13 questions with Darren Grimes. We're gonna do. Speaking of first, we're going to switch up the order. We've been sticking to a specific order on the past few episodes, but
Where were you last Friday night at midnight?
yeah, right. Question one. But these are all ones that you've been asked before, Darren, except for two, which I believe, or no.
I wonder if I have the same answer. I think last time I might have prepared a little more. This time I haven't done any preparation at all or listened to my last episode. But it's been a few years and I'm probably a different person.
Well, as an intro creator and curator of the list, I think you have standing here. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So normally we've been ending our episodes on what does it mean to be a man in today's world, but I think that we're going to start with that question first. So that is question number one. What does it mean to be a man in today's world?
To me?
To you.
To me. Well, I would say the ability to lead, protect, provide, to assert yourself. Definitely to be able to assert yourself and let people know how you feel and how you think, whether they're going to like it or not. I think probably one of the biggest problems men are facing today is their inability to assert themselves. I mean, we got a bunch of dudes with chips on their shoulders because they didn't have the balls to fucking get it off their chest. And, a bunch more that are, I don't know, they're just running around there trying to get girls to like them or women to like them and just not really paying any attention to themselves and who they are and who they want to be and what they want to be and, what kind of man they want to be. You really got to think about it, because if you don't, you're just going to end up drifting into what society wants you to be. And society doesn't want you to be much of a man at all, I would argue. Society wants you to be a bitch. Society wants you to roll over and not have anything to say when they danger tape your kid's playground and, just take your vaccines and wear your mask and, and we're going to teach your kids this and that, and you're going to shut the fuck up about it. And now more than ever, we need some men with some balls to say enough's enough. Enough's enough. Keep that shit away from my kids. No, we're not doing that. I really think that we're at a real turning point in history where it's up to men specifically have the responsibility on their shoulders to decide where this motherfucker goes. Is it going authoritarian or is it going personal sovereignty in that sort of direction? And I don't like the way it's trending right now, which is probably one of the reasons, because I kept my mouth shut about a bunch of stuff for a long time. I mean, the vaccine stuff and that, I've always been pretty outspoken about that. But when it comes to, the fucking drag queens in the kids' classrooms and the telling kids they're fucking gay when they're, 8, 9, 10 years old, or they're bi, or they're fucking, I mean, here in Canada, we're going to give kids puberty blockers when they're 10, 11 years old. They can't even go on a fucking field trip without my permission. So none of this is okay. Like, we're in this weird sort of state where my kids have friends that say they're furries and they don't even know what the fuck a furry is. But we're talking about little kids, dude, 8, 9 years old. They think they're a furry because they think it's some cute thing on the internet. They don't realize there's this whole weird sexual fucking thing going on behind it. They say they're into trans. What the fuck is an 8-year-old kid saying they're into trans people for? You know, that's a failure of I mean, we could blame the television or the media of that, but fundamentally that's a failure of us. Maybe not men specifically, but of parents. And I would argue, or my opinion would be that specifically, and you know, women have played a role. The feminist movement for sure has played a giant role in, you know, the pussification of the Western male. But so, you know, maybe it's 50-50, but one of the big problems I think is just fatherless households. And I'm not saying you have to be married to someone you hate. I'm not married, but you know, I'm very actively involved in my kids. I'm a 50% parent. I'm very active in their stuff. And these fucking bitches and these dudes, you know, these assholes and these bitches that are, you know, they're throwing the kids into it and they're like, now you're not seeing the kids or you're not doing this. That's not helping anything. You know, we need to get dads back involved in kids' lives. I'd say that's probably one of the major problems. We need more men teaching. I don't know how we're going to get that happening. I mean, we should probably just tear that whole education system down ultimately. But the fact that you've got like a 40-1 female to male ratio in early childhood education, coupled with the fact that, you know, probably if the father's around, he's probably at work a lot more than the mom. So it's female. I think this is affecting girls and boys negatively, very negatively.
It's funny that you bring up the ratio thing because I was thinking about that earlier this week. Like in my own upbringing in parochial schools, like even our gym teacher was female. Like there were no, like hardly any male role models until I got male, you know, teachers at least, you know, somebody you're supposed to look up to, right? Until I got to, you know, high school.
Yeah. So if you don't have a father figure in the household, you're fucked. I mean, if a girl or a boy, a girl needs I have 2 daughters. So it's important that they see a strong masculine male role model in their life. Because if they don't, they're going to be a fucking mess. Because they're not getting it in the school system. And we used to have much closer extended families where there'd be, you know, some uncles or some older cousins or some, you know, you could grandpa, all that. But more and more, the further we just had all this COVID bullshit where we're not allowed to see anyone else. And let's be honest, you know, we were already skidding into COVID where a lot of people weren't really going outside their 4 walls for much connection. Not everyone, but we're trending in that direction where we're less and less likely to hang out with extended family. Especially if you take your brother, sister, mother, father out of that equation and get into, you know, cousins, aunts, uncles. It's not unheard of. So I haven't seen them in 20 years, 30 years. You know, myself included. But when I grew up, it was still, you know, very much, you know, all of my uncles were very active, and which probably saved me in a lot of ways. Did not save me. I was a fucking wreck for like, you know, 10, 15 years of alcoholism and everything else for some other reasons that I won't get into here. But, you know, including fatherlessness. But I did have some other, you know, male role models in my life. I mean, I got into welding. My uncle was a welder. My uncles and I were always hunting around me. You know, now I'm an avid hunter. So obviously I had something to fall back on, but a lot of kids don't have fuck all. Nothing. They get everything they think about being a man from the television or from listening to their mom, you know, bitch about what their dad used to do, or, you know, they're the very feminized version of what a man should be in a fucking crazy 5th wave feminist world that's out of control. So it's, you know, it's not slowing down.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, when I was a kid, everybody was a Boy Scout or involved in team sports. And now I don't hear anybody, you know, talking about getting their kids involved with things like that. And, you know, the schools, it's terrible because, you know, we had a guest on, you know, same thing, talking about how, you know, the programs that he felt were going to be impactful for, you know, bringing leadership to students is just not allowed. You can't do it. And so it's forcing even more males out because, you know, you're not allowed to teach the real world.
Yeah, and a lot of these, and then we get caught up in this feelings things, right? Guys have to have feelings, and they get caught. Well, that's not fucking crying and whining. Those aren't the feelings we're talking about. The feelings are being vulnerable enough to not have anything on your chest, to not have anything on your chest, to not have to fucking jump through any hoops because you're lying to people or you're lying to yourself or you're all fucking caught up in yourself because you're too scared to say what you think. You can't have that. You have to have the fucking at least that much self-respect to not have anything on your chest, because that everyone's going to appreciate that more. Everybody, every relationship in your life will appreciate you more when you don't have anything on your chest, from your wife to your kids to your fucking business partners to your coworkers.
Yeah,
because that's real vulnerability. That's real vulnerability. I'm going to say exactly how I feel all of the time and see how you feel about it. Can we still coexist? And if you can't, you can't.
Yeah, everything else is from a place of fear.
And at least you're authentic. Because if you're not authentic, then there's really no fucking point. Then you're not, what are you if you're not authentically yourself? If you're not, and the biggest problem is probably that most guys haven't even really considered what they want to be. So they're just watching TV or playing video games or whatever. I mean, I don't know, because I don't do all that stuff. So
Where do you want to be when you grow up?
I just want to be everything. And I'm fucking working hard on trying to do it.
Yeah, that's the question of identity is something that has been highlighted for me recently, especially with a bunch of enlifted coaches guys sent over from Mark England.
Mark England is awesome.
Word magic.
I'm going to meet him next month in October, in about a month from now. I'm flying into Charlotte and going to hang out with him for a couple of days.
That's going to be awesome.
Oh, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be my first time in North Carolina and Virginia.
All right. Question number 2. Who are or were your role models and why?
Well, those are pretty fluid, I would say. I mean, it depends what I'm into at the time, but I definitely have a bunch of them. I look to tons of people for inspiration. Whenever I'm sort of hurting, I like to use Goggins, because I mean, that motherfucker did the Navy SEALs Hell Week with 2 broken fucking legs or 2 broken shin bones or whatever. I mean, either way, it's some crazy shit. Whenever I'm like maybe packing out an animal or something, I'm like, holy fuck, this is too much.
He's an animal.
That happens even this weekend, man, when I'm like looking at that next hill and you've already walked like fucking 15 miles that day and it's fucking hot as fuck. It's like, I'm not gonna go there. It's like, come on, bitch. Get going. Get going. If you want to go, you got to earn it. And a lot of that comes from Goggins. There's Cameron Haynes, a bunch of those sorts of guys. But I mean, lately, if I really look back, if I was to pick one, because this is something that I get asked a lot, is what changed? What fucking changed to go from old Darren to new Darren, which is still a work in progress, but the old Darren didn't give a fuck, was watching all the TV that everyone else was watching. This is like, 10 or 11 years ago that I was watching television shows just like everyone else. Having kids played a role in that. But when I really look at it now, it was probably when my cousin, who was also my best friend, Shank San, when he died was December 14th of 2012. And I mean, the podcast was out 6 months later. It was kind of a big wake up call, because we're only, we're very close in age, a month apart. And it was like a real wake up call into not taking life for granted. And I think I've done a pretty good job since then because it was like a conscious, you can't waste any time. You can't. And I could learn that lesson better when it comes to telling people how you feel all the time and stuff like that. And not, which goes back to that having stuff on your chest. That's good stuff, bad stuff, all that stuff. Because, you never know what's going to be next week or the week after. If you want to write a book, you might not be able to do it in 20 years. If you want to go on a tour with Randall Carlson, you might not be able to do that in 5 years. You might not be able to do any of this stuff. I might not be able to wait until I retire to get into bow hunting, because by then my fucking legs might not work. So it just was a real shift in my mindset to start doing everything that I think I might want to do. And I'm still coming up with stuff, but when I get the idea to do something, it doesn't sit on the shelf. It gets done, usually with all my gusto. So I don't know if that's a role model, but I'm going to call it one. I mean, I have my main event for our tour company is the Shungite Memorial Contact at the Canyons, stargazing with Dave Matheson and Brandon Powell. And the reason for that was, we were going to do it on his birthday the first year and everything, but it all fell through because of the COVID stuff. But yeah, and my daughter's name is after him and all that stuff, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I got to go to one of those Contact at the Camet events last year, going on almost 2 years now.
Was it Utah, right?
Yeah, Utah. Got to meet Brandon and David. Those guys are definitely two past guests. Oh, David's been a guest. I don't know if Brandon has. Have to get him on. Yeah, that was definitely a great time. If any of you listeners get a chance to go out and check out one of those events, definitely do that. We talk a lot about heart-brain coherence. At least we try to bring it up in the intro, at least. But the other half of that key, I would say, is breath work. And Brandon Powell is an excellent person to learn that from. So, yeah, definitely go check one of those out if you can.
Hell yeah. Life-changing experience. Yep. I don't know. I was there, heavy smoker at the time, able to hold my breath for 5+ minutes, and incredibly energizing.
Nice. The Wim Hof stuff is great. I should be doing that more. I really should.
I know. I need to do it like every day, and now I'm thinking I need to go back to my old recordings of Brandon.
Totally. I love that motherfucker.
Cool.
Another role model for sure.
Question number 3. What was the best advice ever given to you? Would you modify it at all today?
I don't know. I get a lot of great advice from a lot of great people. I'm an avid reader, which I would consider advice, I guess. Maybe we take that out, take the reading out.
Same thing. It's information from a person.
Yeah. So if I was going to pick something recently, the best advice I got, well, I mean, no, there's so much. I can't really pick anything. The best advice I think is to, I guess, stay out of the drift. Make sure that you're the fucking active director of your life. And I would say that was, it's very Napoleon Hill. It was, in Outwitting the Devil, he really sort of hammers that point home, to not be in the drift. That 98 out of every 100 people are just caught in the drift of life. They're not in control of where they're going. They don't know where they're going to end up. They hope for the best. And 2 out of every 100 see what they want and they go for it through failure, they persevere through failure and their own laziness. You're going to be your own worst enemy every step of the way. No one ever calls me up and says, "Don't work out today, bro. Fuck it." But somebody tells me that every day. But nobody phones me. It's just me. And, I don't know where I was going with that, but that's what I got.
I'm glad that you brought up Napoleon Hill, because this is the number 3 slot question, right? Which is usually the book question. And I think your answer for the book question was Napoleon Hill's book, one of his books. I think it was. I don't think it was the devil one. I think it was the other one.
Master Keys.
Think and Grow Rich, maybe. They're both good. I like Outwitting the Devil better, though, now, for sure. I couldn't pick a favorite book. There's so many great ones. The best one I read recently that was nonfiction was probably Matthew McConaughey's autobiography.
Really?
Yeah, I like to dabble into all sorts of different stuff, and I really like to read autobiographies of successful people, because success leaves clues. That could have been the advice one. Success leaves clues, which Alex Takaris told me, and I know he didn't make that up, but he told me that on the phone one time when I was kind of talking to him when we were really trying to figure out how we could turn the corner on turning some of the ideas we had into businesses. And he was like, well, success leaves clues. And that was kind of,
Well,
makes a lot of sense.
And especially
It
that
makes-
guy too, because I mean,
And well,
yeah, he's done well. He got into it in a very organic way, not, trying hard in the way that everybody else does. And you don't hear bad things about him. He seems to be an open, honest interview.
so if you can read the autobiographies of people who have done well, you don't necessarily have to, like, I don't watch fucking movies. Matthew McConaughey, I remember he was the dude. All right. And I've seen that HERE movie, which is all right, but I'm not like a Matthew McConaughey fan by any stretch of the imagination. But the guy's done well for himself. So I'll read his book, or I listened to that one, actually on Audible, and it was self-narrated. And I ended up buying a hard copy of it too, just because it really. Actually, and he mentioned a couple books in it that I ended up reading that turned out to be pretty good as well. Anyway, his mindset is very similar to mine. And what I find is if I start dipping into these different sort of people's, it's basically you're just going on a tour through their head. You get to, especially if they've written it. I'm less into someone else writing about. I want to know how he was thinking when he did this, this, and this. And what my takeaway from it was that, he sort of forced his way into the life he wanted. And I don't care about his politics or this, that, or the other, but I know that he seen what he wanted and he went after it. And I can take something away from that, because that's who we need to learn from. If you want to do something different, you're not getting that from the public school system. If you want to do something different, you need to try something you never tried before, or learn something you never learned before.
Question number 4. What are you most curious about?
Everything. Myself. Everything. Yeah, I think myself. What I can do, what I can't do, what are the limits? What are my personal limits? I can see like myself getting into just stuff that maybe I thought, well, I guess it's not myself. It's more life. I'm just super curious about life. All the different, I want to do a bunch of stuff, including a bunch of stuff I haven't even like started yet. I want to make a cartoon. I've sort of started brainstorming with a friend, and all this stuff that I just thought was impossible and out of reach and crazy for a long time. And it's like, now the older I get, the more possible it all seems. I'm a firm believer that you can do whatever the fuck you want if you try hard enough. And you don't even have to try that hard. I mean, people think I'm a crazy workaholic, man. If you like followed me around for the day, you'd be like, that motherfucker spends an awful lot of time on that phone. He's out hunting an awful lot. He's out fishing. I'm not I work harder than most people, but I'm not a crazy workaholic. I didn't enjoy, you just have to hunker down once in a while and just grind it out and earn that laziness.
I think I don't think it's an answer that we've had before to this question, at least anyway. Like, but I think it's awesome. Like, know thyself, right? Like, what else is there? Like, what's the
It's the most key point of anything. How are you going to have, well, I mean, ultimately, if I go back to my divorce, if I would have known myself better, I never would have been in that marriage. I could have saved myself a lot, but it's a hard one to bitch about because I have my kids and they're the best shit ever. You know what I mean? And part of that divorce was, and all of that relationship woes and everything was part of what ultimately formulated me into the person I am today. But you could still figure that stuff out sooner and save everybody a lot of headache and a lot of heartache. And you're more likely to find the career or the job or start the business that you actually want. You're not going to get stuck in a dead end job. You're not going to get stuck with a wife you hate. You're not going to get stuck with a business partner you can't stand, because you know yourself well enough to know that you don't like those people. Or maybe you don't even not like them. And I still fuck up. I've gotten myself into more than one relationship and let it go on past the point where I knew it wasn't, where just I knew myself well enough, but I guess I had started to know myself well enough, but I still wasn't assertive enough to, really tell myself that this is a waste of everybody's time.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying, just being completely, open and vulnerable and saying and being who you are. Because if you don't know who you are, how do you know what you like? You're chasing.
You have no business involving another person in that. That's my opinion. You have no business involving another person in your life if you don't know who you are, especially on friends, whatever, that's fine. But I mean, romantically, if you want to involve someone in your life on that level, you better fucking know who you are.
Well, yeah. If you don't know who you are, how can anybody know you?
And maybe kids.
Yeah.
It's a process for sure.
Dude, I ate 5 grams of mushrooms last weekend, still trying to figure myself out. And you know what? I might have learned more of myself walking 60 kilometers through the fields by myself too. And I think everybody probably knew themselves a lot better when they were putting one foot in front of the other. And, there's an energetic exchange there. So you're not pent up, which is part of it. And I just think that walking is a very underrated, because especially walking by yourself in nature, I think is a very underrated therapeutic.
Grounding. I do it barefoot.
Being quiet. So when you bring the hunting aspect into it with the bow and arrow, you're being as quiet and present as you possibly can. Which way is the wind blowing? Can I hear anything? Is there a bush I'm going to step on?
Do you think that reading is a form of meditation?
Yeah, 100%. I try and read every night before bed because I find it puts my brain into a different state. Especially good fiction.
Part of your answer a little bit before, it reminded me of a quote I wanted to bring up real quick before we moved on to the next question. But in regards to life being a process, this is by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. It's French, so probably didn't pronounce that right. But he said that living is being born slowly. It would be a little too easy if we could borrow ready-made souls. So as far as everything happens for a purpose, and this is a process. It just doesn't end until we die, right? And even then, there's a whole reincarnation, thing to be discussed and whatnot. So,
there's a bunch of stuff to be discussed that we don't have time to get into here.
Yeah, but yeah, the self as the most curious thing to be, curious about, I think it's great because there's so much depth there. It's never ending. It seems.
Well, ultimately, everything you're curious about comes down to, I think, is self. Different aspect of yourself. Part of yourself wants that for some reason. Maybe. I smoke a lot of weed, so it could all be bullshit.
Question number 5. What do you willfully ignore?
Oh, a bunch of stuff. Probably my cell phone addiction, my marijuana addiction. For a while, I was willfully ignoring a bunch of stuff in society, but I think I'm done with that. I think I wasn't even willfully and respectfully ignoring it. Whereas so I would say because willful to me means on purpose. So I don't think I on purpose ignore my pot consumption. I know I'm doing it. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm just doing it. So willfully ignore was probably I got caught up in the whole PC thing and, the whole, battery, willfully ignoring, probably I would say, we let the establishment come too far. We gave up way too much ground with the whole political correctness thing. I'll leave it at that because yours isn't the kind of show that I'm going to go off on a bunch of this stuff on. But we gave up way too much fucking ground to these leftists. And I'm not saying a leftist like a Democrat or a liberal, even though they're pretty fucked right now too, but so are the conservatives in a lot of ways. But we gave up too much ground to whatever this fucking communist nightmare is that's coming in and scooping up and greater than. Nothing's greater than me or my fucking family as far as I'm concerned. Period. Full stop. We have full disclosure on our full authority on our personal sovereignty or personal medical decisions, whether we're leaving our house, whether we're going to visit our friends, all of that. And I think that if you would have told me 5 years ago or even 3 years ago that people would have not seen their family and told their family they couldn't come over on Christmas and not fucking tore down the fucking hospital doors when they got told they couldn't see their grandpa, brother, sister, whoever when they were dying because of some fucking COVID bullshit. I think it was a real canary in the coal mine for how much ground we've given up to the state. So I think that was probably the thing I chose to willfully ignore the hardest. And some shit my kids do, but I'm getting better at that too. Getting better at making sure I don't let them do shit that I don't like or that I don't think is appropriate. And that if they learn stuff or they're being told stuff, because it's easy to just not have that conversation with your kids too. It's not a comfortable conversation to sit down your kids and start having conversations with an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old about fucking transgender and LGBTQ bullshit. And I'm saying bullshit because when it ends up when you're talking to an 8 or a 10-year-old about it, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. So, I mean, I think a lot of us are willfully ignoring our kids, getting indoctrinated into some stuff that might not be great for them. So we could probably, I've actively stopped that because and that's probably something I just picked up in the last couple of years when I started to see I'm going to keep this super vague so I don't get myself into trouble. I've seen enough of where this is headed with my own eyes with some kids at different ages between the technology and the propaganda. And I don't like where it's going. And my kids will not be a part of it. And I think that that's something that I've been willfully maybe ignoring as well. That can't happen anymore. Now you got to sit your kids down on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and have a conversation about values. You really do. Because otherwise someone else is. And that's all of our individuality. We can't just give that over to the state-sponsored education program or to the mainstream media or to Hannah Montana. That's probably an old reference, but the new one's probably a YouTuber.
I couldn't see. I don't have children, right? But I've got young.
You should have a bunch of children. I wish I would have had more. That's something I'll say. That's like probably a regret I had is I convinced myself that I didn't want to have a bunch of kids and I wish I would have had more kids.
Yeah.
And I would say society helped me convince that. And they overprice all the shit. So you're broke as fuck while you're having them. But I could have had 4 kids for sure.
Yeah, it does seem like that whatever is happening that it does seem to be targeting offspring, and I don't think that it's by mistake, right? So protect your kids. It's not really a laughing matter, but
No, I mean, the biggest defense we have is right at the family. Outside of that, you are fighting a system. So, work on your plot of land.
Work on your kids more than your Instagram posts.
you gotta teach them to be aware. Like, keep your head on a swivel. Today, I just saw.
Oh yeah, I make them assert themselves too. Like my kid wanted some new trader shoes in for some other ones because she had bought these. She picked up these and she's like, you know what? I think I like those green ones better. I was like, fine, go tell him. He said, oof, I can't do that. And I was like, well, you know what the difference is between the kid who gets the green shoes and the kid who gets the blue shoes? Whether or not she goes and asks that guy for the fucking blue shoes. Well, I didn't say fuck it. But she did it. I made her do it. I mean, by 10, you need to be able to assert yourself on some level, especially if you're, I mean, not in a sexist way, but especially if you're raising girls. I mean, boys need to be too, but it comes more naturally. But I think boys naturally assert themselves and that gets beat out of them. And, girls are just from the get-go not expected to assert themselves. And I don't want any part of that with my kids. For all the feminist bullshit, it's not doing them any favors.
Question number 6. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
This is sex thing.
Not necessarily.
Huh. Well, like,
but
what?
I don't think anyone's read it like that before, but we could change it.
Yeah. I guess a little bit of everything. Nature mostly. I love to be out in nature. I get a lot of inspiration from nature. And not even like inspired by, I want to paint that mountain. That's where just I'll get the idea. That's where I first got the idea that maybe I could write the first book I wrote, and just I was out fucking driving my truck through country roads when I came up, when I was driving down country roads looking at scenery when I called Randall Carlson to try and do the first contact at the cabin event. I was just, again, I'll see something and it gets my brain sort of working. It's sort of like that does for me what some people would say have in the shower. And I don't know what I said last time, but I've definitely been spending a lot more time in nature since my divorce. That took up a lot of energy.
Have you done cacao before going out in nature?
Like chocolate?
Yeah, like ceremonial grade, like the pure stuff.
No, I'm not a big chocolate guy. Why does it fuck you up?
No, it does work with your heart energy, and it does have some dopamine type effects. So like you get like a more of a closer connection to nature. It's like being on, I don't know, the way I would describe it when I had my like shrooms. Yeah, kind of very mild, not, actually not at all like shrooms, but
but I was rolling around in a field on 5 grams of mushrooms in Brooks, Alberta a couple weeks ago, so it started to rain.
Yeah, it's not like shrooms, but there's definitely a connection there. It's subtle. It's very subtle, but I would definitely encourage anyone just to try it.
I had some dark chocolate in my trail mix. Does that count?
Maybe it depends on. I think
how dark is it? Like a dark thing? Is it a darkness?
Yeah.
That's pretty racist.
Stuff that we use is 100%
George Floyd dark. It all melted. So when I opened it up, it was just a big mess. It was just a big ball of chocolatey trail mix. So I'd have to go throw it in the garbage. If you send me some of this chocolate, I'll eat it in the bush. How's that? I wouldn't know where to get any. Or if you send me a link to where I could buy some here.
Sure. I would I will do that. I sent some to Adam. He's enjoyed all the flavors. I could send him a sample package thing. So, but yeah, we'll definitely.
I'm not a big chocolate guy, but for you, I'll try that out and I will report back.
Hell yeah.
I just wanted to touch before we leave here that I absolutely love the fact that, nature is meditation, incredible focus on survival and, being one within a system. It's a true meditation. And now that we move inside structures in this other world, like we have to set a time in a certain way and make ourselves meditate for this huge benefit. But in a way, going back to nature just instantly puts you into constant meditation.
I agree, especially if you're by yourself.
It's just breathing in, like, I don't know, pollen gets people's.
And you don't even have to be by yourself. If you're with someone that can just be comfortable, there's a certain people where you can just be together and walk and not talk, and you still have that sort of solitude. Those are the same people you can eat loads of mushrooms with and not wake out. They're the best. Everyone needs a few of those people. Most people, if you eat 5 grams of mushrooms with someone and you don't know them really well, you're not going to have a good time. You guys are not going to be together by the end of the night.
Right. Yeah, walking is one of the most communal, primal communal things. Like going for a walk with someone is just the most basic, I think, simplest thing you can do. You know, as far as commuting, especially, but when you don't have to talk to the other person, like there's
It was a huge part of our survival.
the
We spent
comfort,
eons
yeah.
as human beings walking in silence together. So I mean, yeah, it is in our DNA.
It shouldn't be hard to walk in silence with someone. That's a modern problem, I think.
shouldn't be uncomfortable, right?
Shouldn't be uncomfortable to shut the fuck up sometimes. It shouldn't mean that
Yeah, there's no
someone's thinking-
wolves to jump out and eat you when they hear you.
Yeah. Imagine that, eh? We're only like 300 years removed from the wolves being our biggest problem. Literally. Well, not just that. But, 300-400 years ago, the wolves were a big fucking problem. You would not want to be wandering around the woods in a small band at night. I heard there's like super packs up in like Siberia and stuff now that are terrorizing people again.
I gotta worry about feral hogs. 30.
Ooh, is there a bunch
Ooh.
around there? Can we hunt them with Kid Rock?
Yeah.
Is he your neighbor?
No.
Oh,
No.
I think he's got a nice place out there in Michigan.
There is a lot of West Michigan is like its own separate state. There's a lot of money from Chicago over here. It's weird. I've only been here for
Sounds good.
but anyway,
Sound good.
question number 7. What is your greatest fear? How did you overcome it, if you have?
I wonder what I said last time. I mean, my greatest fear is probably, something happening to your kids, I think, but I don't think that's really what you're going for. I guess not really over the last few years. It's really solidified as not living up to my potential physically, mentally, financially, spiritually, all of that. Not because I'm not, if I'm being perfectly honest with myself, I'm not the man that I want to be quite yet. And maybe I'll never be. Maybe that's part of it. But I'm not there yet. So I don't want to have that on my fucking chest when it gets to the bitter end. You know what I mean? So get after it.
So it's like a process again, going back to the everything happens for a reason, and you're not done until you die, right? And even then, it's questionable. But like, yeah, we're not there yet because
Well, let's assume you are done then, like, because this version of you is done. So you just be the best version of you this time around. I think that's my, I don't want to leave anything on the table because some Netflix shows or because the Seahawks made the finals of the football or whatever, fill in the blank. And I'm not judging you if that's your thing. And if you can face yourself at the end of that, at the end, and be happy with that, great. Power to you. I couldn't. I can't.
Yeah, speaking of sports, that's something that has kind of fallen off the plate over the last couple of years for me. I used to follow.
Funny how that happens. When we first started the show, I was still a Flames fan, and Graham was like, "Oh, dude, within like 3 years, it'll be gone." I was like, "No, man, I've been a Flames fan forever." Sure enough, I couldn't. I was downtown having lunch the other day, and the TV cameras came up to me and asked me to comment on, "Oh, did you hear this? So and so got so and so," and I was like, "I don't know who the fuck that is, man." And they just sort of moved on. But I actually thought it was kind of funny because I went to like 4 different tables and they were like, so I always wonder if I'm just part of the trend because it's like I gave up golf, but it seems like everyone else gave up golf at the same time. So, maybe I'm not as unique as I think. I'm not a snowflake.
Well, that bodes well for society, right? We got a lot of free thinkers and people that are, completely shifting and opening up to
It's
a different
getting violent.
reality. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those weird things seem like they're really bad, but I think the pendulum is always going to swing. You just don't really know when it's on the upswing for a while.
Well, I
So-
hope that's not the takeaway from my my chat because I don't think things are bad. You know, I'm a firm advocate that things are great. And I'm 100% confident in my ability to thrive in any ecosystem. So, I mean, I'm a glasses half full all the time sort of guy. I think that whatever happens, it's for the best, even if it doesn't look the best for my part of it.
Well, you said it best earlier, right? There used to be wolves 300 years ago. So, I mean, yeah, there's some pretty big things we don't have to worry about, so we can focus on these other weird problems about who's giving out hormones, not who's getting, bled out through the throat.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think those problems are going to work themselves out. It's just going to be uglier than it needs to be because, I'm not making up the numbers for mind changes and suicide. They're there. You can go look them up. They're not good. Really high.
Increasing.
Higher than any other demographic in fucking history. And I say that as a fucking Indian. And we're way behind that fucking demographic. It's like 10 times. So, probably not good. Just saying.
History's going to look back on this like so many other things.
Oh my God, man. Oof. There's so many things.
Question 8. What is the most courageous thing you have ever done or seen in your life?
I've seen a ton of super courageous stuff. But since I do remember my answer from the last time, which is probably bullshit, I'd say this time I was probably getting the fuck out of that marriage before I ended up fucking either. It was a waste of a life or maybe a couple lives at the least, at the very least. And it was probably I tried to hang on to that motherfucker so hard, change myself over and over to try and fit whatever could keep that family unit together, at least, until the kids are older. But, ultimately I had to make the decision I couldn't do it anymore because, and it turned out to be a great decision on a ton of different levels, I mean, metaphysically, physically, spiritually, across the board. I've never been happier.
It's kind of
I've
beautiful.
Never been happier in my life than I am right now. I'm a little tired right now, but
that's beautiful, man. You got to, it's hard, but you find out all the things that don't work and the things that you can't do. And then when you find that thing, it's like, okay, this is clicking.
When I pulled out of the bush this morning with no animal, after not killing an animal and trying for, 30 some odd hours and 60 some kilometers, I pulled out of the camp today. Honestly, I had to make the post because I was feeling more happier and more grateful for my life than I ever have than right now. I've never been in a better place. I've never been happier with myself, and there's still a ton of work to do. But I've never been better. Yeah. And I want everyone to do that. I want that to be like the goal of fucking men in our society, to be better than you were yesterday, every day, physically, financially, spiritually, all of it, mentally, be getting smarter, be getting stronger, be getting more emotionally coherent.
And that doesn't mean that you have to be all the way better, like just trajectory based, right? Even just a little bit
better than yesterday, just a little bit better than yesterday. And, every year after day after week after week to month after month, the year after year, you'll see insane changes.
Finish the marathon step by step.
I mean, the easiest one is to just start doing some working out. I fell off the working out train for like a year, and it was hard to pile back on it. But, within 2 months, you're like, fuck yeah, way to go. Keep at it. And, multiply that out a year, 2 years, 3 years. And all of a sudden you realize how that dude went from being, 30 pounds overweight to being jacked. Oh, just consistency every day. He got a little better every day. Decisions. It all comes down to your choices. And you're going to be negotiating with yourself constantly. It's not like it's just like, oh, we're just doing this now. Like I said, there's only one person who tries to talk me out of working out every single day.
What do you tell him?
I tell him to shut the fuck up, pussy. David Goggins ran fucking 9 miles on broken legs. You can do your fucking chin-ups. And in different aspects, whether it's, whether it's maybe meeting some new people, all that stuff is sort of just, you got to just be able to be better at all that. I think, relationships are a part of that, not just romantic ones, all your relationships, being authentic with your friends, with your coworkers, with your colleagues, holding the door open for strangers, all that stuff. I mean, I turned around the other day when we were at the dentist to go grab the door because there's a little lady in a fucking walker and, she's having a time. So I turned around, went back to grab the door for her, and she's just fucking blown away. And that's pathetic. That fucking lady should have doors held open for her everywhere she goes. It should be par for the course. I don't know how I ended up there. Weird turn, but.
Speaking of weird turns, this is a brand new question that we're debuting. It's never been asked before on this show. And it is question 9. This will be question 9 for us. It is, what is the most bittersweet thing you have ever done or seen in your life?
Well, that's probably that same divorce, It's still not it's still not fun. It still wasn't you come out the other side better. And it's still the best decision for, I guess, there's still always going to be something there. There was something there that was built that is now broken, and it's great but there's still that left behind. Obviously there was something there at one time if you had a bunch of kids. The other one I would say is, every time you shoot an animal, I get a lot of shit from the vegans. I poke the bear a lot too, so I probably deserve it. But about the hunting, because I'm pretty. I post all my hunting pics all the time. I'm proud. I'm excited. I think it celebrates the animal. The animal is always a worthy opponent. It's never easy. With the bow, that's 50 times the case. But even with the rifle, it's not like you're just walking out and boom. If it was like that, everybody would be doing it and getting their animal all the time, and that's certainly not the case. It's a very worthy opponent. And I was really thinking about that because I was just out hunting antelope all weekend. And I'll tell you what, all that time I seen probably a 50 or 60 antelope. I got less than 6 within 100 yards of me and only 1 within 50. But there's a lot of cows out there too, right? Because it's some of the area I hunt is also community grazing land. So I guess it's technically crown land, so owned by the people. It'd be public land, but they don't let us you can't camp there, you can't do that. So it's public land, and if I had a bunch of cattle, I could pay a small fee to go let them eat the grass there. And it's maintained like that, to just let the grass grow all the time. And the beauty of it is that because Alberta's farm to fuck, man, and so is Saskatchewan, the whole thing, farm to fuck. And if it wasn't for these little pockets, there'd be really no natural prairie left. The mountains get left alone because you can't build shit out there and you can't farm them. And a lot of the forests, are pretty thick and hard to deal with. The prairies get trashed. The prairies really get taken for granted, and they get steamrolled because you can just plow that shit up and put dirt in there. Where was I going with that?
Bittersweet animals.
Oh, so you can go there and you can just pet the cows. You can just pet them. They'll come right up to you. They think they're your pet. They think they're your friend. So that's not really the vegans so much, but that's like what our meat thing is. And people want to yell at, me who goes and tries for 2 weeks to get his antelope, and then
Well, it's such an intelligence thing. It's an outwitting.
and it's bittersweet because you're with that animal when it dies 9 times out of 10. So very rarely, by the time you get to the animal, it's already dead. It's very rare. You know, they're big, strong animals. It takes them a while to die. So you're usually with it. You're with that. You're with a giant elk that outweighs you by, 400 or 500 pounds when it dies, or a moose, or a deer, or an antelope. And you're not hooting and hollering at that time. I might always be smiling in my pictures, but the pictures are after. The pictures are after that moment. There's a moment, and it's bittersweet would probably be a good word for it, because killing shit isn't fun, but it's necessary. And if I'm going to eat meat, then I'm going to do my own dirty work. I'm not going to outsource that to something that thinks it's my pet. I eat beef sometimes too, but I mean, I'm going to do my best to do my own dirty work. And I would say that is, in my opinion, obviously, is probably more noble than just saying I'm not going to eat that at all and then outsourcing your shit to some other crazy shit that's killing a bunch of other stuff that, turning a blind eye. So, and I'm not, I don't think I'm any better than anyone, but I know where my food comes from, and I have a very personal relationship with it. When I eat it, I remember, that moment. Every time I have a moose sausage, I remember that moment in that bush with that footage. I could tell you the date that thing died. I was able to go back today on the podcast and pull up the walk from our elk hunt 2 years ago to see how far we walked, because I know it was November 25th, 2020. And then I know that the last 2 elk I shot last year were November 4th, one on November 4th and one on November 5th. I could tell you what they look like, where they were lying, all that. And I think about that. That's just in your head when you're eating. I think that's a good relationship to have with your food.
We are so far removed from nature, we forget that we're there. That, it's not just us killing those animals. There's bobcats and bears and other predators out there. Winter, freezing, starvation. And yeah, you're participating in a system where it is wit against nature and as minimal suffering. So yeah, it's incredibly beautiful. Ideally, like everything in life, man, you try to do the right thing, and sometimes you hurt somebody more. You just got to keep on doing more good in the world than bad.
But it knows I'm trying to kill it, and the cow doesn't. So I think that is a more authentic relationship. I'm chasing it, and it knows it most of the time. Sometimes it's surprising. I'd probably rather be surprised if I was being hunted.
How do you think that like, so conscious living and being aware of like where your food comes from? Like, I 100% agree with you. I actually eat less meat now because I don't hunt, but I'm not a vegan either. It's just like by default I'm eating less, even though I just had some today. I'm not perfect, right? But still, in general, I think conscious living that's comparatively, like, from like beef or anything with 4 legs to, say, like a bird. Do you think that there's like a difference in like?
I don't think there's a difference between a tomato plant and a moose. And I think that history, that will eventually be common knowledge. I mean, so I can get into the fact that all this all this plant-based food, the farms and all that is destroying all sorts of stuff, right? All sorts of stuff is getting killed in that process. But I don't need to, because I can eat some mushrooms and know that plants are conscious on some level. And I can listen to someone like Paul Stamets and know that the biggest fucking organic and intelligent thing in the world might be this mycelium patch that's taken over most of the Pacific Northwest. And it seems like the trees are talking to each other and making decisions. And I think it's like probably just a modern form of arrogance to think that, or even naivety, that the plants are just plants and animals or something over and above that?
Well, we know it's alive. It doesn't see, it doesn't react the same way that other consciousness that we assign importance to. Therefore, fuck the plant. Let's eat it alive. I see that every time I see a salad or something being eaten. You are eating a living thing. It is much less cruel to take an animal that can feed you for the entire winter versus, hundreds of bean sprouts.
I don't think I just think as long as you realize that life eats life, and that I just don't think the vegans are getting out of that. I'm not saying
Exactly.
one is better than the other. Just don't think you're getting the fuck out of it. I'm not worse than you. We're the same. You're eating some life. I'm eating some life. That's it. Both of us. We're both doing that. Everyone's doing that. Every fucking thing on this planet, except the plants. So if anything, they should be the one to get the pass. They're the ones that aren't fucking eating other things. Everything else from the plants up is eating other shit. Plants are just chilling from the sun. And I'm pretty sure that breatharian stuff is bullshit. So I know a lady that tried it, and I'm pretty sure she went batshit crazy. And I think she's eating food too on the side. I hope she doesn't listen to this show.
I don't know that we have a lot of female listeners, Darren.
Probably not.
Question number 10. What daily habits or rituals do you have?
Smoking weed. No, a bunch. I exercise in the morning before. It's the first thing I do when I get out of bed. Still in my underwear. I do exercise for 15 minutes so that by the time I go in and hit the bathroom, start getting ready for my day, my heart is pumping and I'm sweating and ready to go. And then, I got a pretty good routine. Yeah, I'm pretty routine based, but it said daily, right? Was it daily?
Yeah.
So the morning exercise is pretty important to me. If I miss it, I really notice it. That and coffee. I mean, I don't know what I would do without coffee.
Do you do coffee and then
Coffee.
exercise, or exercise then coffee?
Oh no, exercise first. Exercise, then coffee. And then no weed till, mid-morning at least.
A good order of operations.
It's working. It's working.
For the a little bit of time, like, I don't know, 10 years ago when I actually did sign up for a gym, I would get up early and I'd go lift weights with my buddy, but I would drink coffee while I was lifting weights at the same time. They don't really go too well together.
Oh, I wouldn't imagine they do. So I don't even do the gym. I just do everything in my bedroom. I chin up bars and push-ups and some of those elastic band things. I'm not looking to get jacked. I just want to make sure that my stuff gets used every day and it's ready to be used and works.
Yeah, I think just being able to use your own body weight should be sufficient. Like, I know a lot of people are into lifting weights and resistance training and whatnot, which is great. I mean, I know it works and it produces results, but I think, as long as you can pull yourself over, like, a fence or whatever by yourself, or
the main thing to me is longevity. So it's at 40 is that age where if you don't start doing, pull-ups, you can do weights, whatever, but if you don't start doing something and I think that actually the weights are probably the best way to do it. But if you don't start doing some sort of weight training, then your bone density starts to break down. So it's like they start to notice this huge correlation between what you're doing in your late 30s and your 40s to what you're doing in your 70s.
Oh.
And my goal right now is to be hunting at 80 with my fucking bow and arrow. And I feel like that's something, and I know a couple people, right? I'm not going to name any names, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No one in this room, but that have started to let themselves slide at those older, 50, 55, 60. I know a bunch of people, and it starts to happen fast. So I'm really feeling at 40 like that's got to be a top priority is your health, and you're taking a look at what, if you want to be doing stuff at 70, what do you need to do now? What do you need to eat? And what do you need to keep moving so it doesn't seize up? I think the hips are the big one. That's where that walking comes in. Because we sit so fucking much. Sit at the chair, sit on the couch, sit in the car, sit at the office. 200 years ago, wasn't a lot of sitting.
Be more walking.
Well, you mentioned eating right, and if we go back 200 years, I mean, natural medicine, marijuana, weed was, incredibly common for so many uses. Have you ever considered that, it's more of like nutrition, in the way that you get scurvy if you don't eat, limes, that it's, it cleanses your mind of poison thoughts in a way?
I try and tell myself that, but I tell myself I'm just telling myself that so that I don't have to tell myself that I'm fucking a pothead.
Yeah, but then you tell it to people that have seizures when they don't.
That being said, I would argue I'm operating at a pretty high level, and I'm stoned a lot. So I run my company. I run the company I work for by day, and I'm running 3 companies on the side, and all of them are doing well. And I'm stoned, so. I don't know. I don't fit into that groove. So maybe there is space for that, but I think that's an easy out to my potheadness also. So I have to be careful with that. That's like justifying my substance abuse, if we want to call it that. I go back and forth on this, but either way, I'm not stopping smoking the weed. So,
well, it's a companion plant where you have special cannabinoid receptors in our bodies.
It seems like it, right?
Yeah, we could build stuff with this. We should be building stuff out of hempcrete. Like, why? What? This is why we're so backwards. Everything's backwards.
But I still think it's probably a vice. It's probably, maybe we'll go 50-50, right? It's a companion plant that I abuse a little bit. Nobody's perfect.
Listen, man, eat enough basil and it's going to send your mind into another dimension.
Maybe there's chocolate.
Hey. Well, have to let us know. You can mix those two.
And then sleep for a week.
Question number 11. What quality do you most admire in a woman?
So many. They smell good. Mindset. 100%. Mindset, attitude. I ended up in a relationship with someone that didn't share mindset, spirituality. There's a couple things that didn't connect, and it just, there was no way to work around it. And it wasn't even like a messy thing. There was no way to make it compatible. She was a nice girl, I wish her the best, no hard feelings, but it just ruins everything if I don't like how you think. If, I can't, if you're negative, if you're complaining, blaming, I can't do it. I just can't. That's like, I could probably see past a lot of stuff, but I can't see past the negative mindset because it gets into everything, including my stuff. I mean, I was married to a negative mindset, and I would argue that in the 3 years since my divorce, I've achieved more success than I did in the 10 before. And that's because I wasn't wasting a bunch of time managing it anymore, managing the fucking my mindset from this fucking thing coming in all the time, trying to destroy because I'm a positive, upbeat person. And when the world's falling down around you, it's hard to maintain that. And when the person you're with is constantly, the sky is falling, the world is the worst, everything sucks. I mean, I can get on board with talking about, all that stuff, but it can't be at the end of the day, it's going to be all right. Well, let's go fucking get it. Let's go figure it out. We got this.
Yeah, you still got to seize the day at the end. At the end of the day.
Well, you don't have to. If neither of you want to seize the day, that's fine too. But but I want my woman to want to seize the day, to want to be pushing it forward, you know, and to just have to be positive and happy. I think that's really the most important. Like, and then it's not to say that that I don't deal with bad shit. You know, it happens. We all have bad days, but it's still it really helps. That positive mindset really helps to start looking at how bad that shit is, right? You know, sometimes really terrible shit happens. And I've had the misfortune of burying a lot of friends and giving a few eulogies. And there's no positiving your way out of that, you know, all the positive thinking in the world. You know, I miss some of those people every day, but that doesn't mean that you're negative about it either. You know what I mean? Like, you can be sad and still positive. You can be heartbroken and still positive. Maybe not right away, not when you're fucking in it. But, you know, I can miss my cousin and still want to have a positive outlook about tomorrow, next week, 3 weeks, 10 weeks, 5 years, 10 years. All that looks great to me. And I know there'll be a bunch of terrible tragedies and stuff that happens along the way. That's all part of it. That's part of life. If you don't have that stuff, then, you know, happiness doesn't exist either. Because that's the yin and the yang.
Oh yeah, you can focus on two things. You know, my favorite quote, the Buddha quote, is "Life is suffering." You know, everything is suffering. You know, it's how do you deal with in the moment. If you can look at the positive, the light side, and laugh, and, you know, find, you know, glee and joy instead of baking that in as a terrible moment, then go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly seems like happiness doesn't really exist for negative people, and it's sad. And I don't want that in my life.
They can't attract it if they're just exuding negative all the time. It's just going to be that's what they're.
And it's so easy to nurture. I mean, just pull this thing out. You find all sorts of negative shit in a second to be fucking outraged about. And I find that shit. And
David Goggins.
I just don't take any of it personally. You know, it's not going to it's pretty hard to knock me off of my positive mindset. Not impossible, but hard. And I think that's the most attractive thing in a woman, because now we can go through hard stuff together. And because once we start getting negative, it's just a matter of time till it's like, you fucking bitch, this is your fault, right? Or my fault, because you know, that just sort of negativity sort of breeds contempt, I would argue. Eventually, it seems to, in all of my experience. So, and that's not just in romantic relationships. I mean, I've seen a ton of like high-end business relationships, not mine, but I've been privy. Is that the word?
That's the right word.
Our word to some like high-end, you know, business relationships that have kind of gone south over that same sort of thing. You know, it's like, I don't think you can have a positive company with a negative attitude. I just, that's my version of reality, says that your attitude and your intention directly forms your trajectory. So if you think you're thinking negatively, I think you're in trouble.
The fish rots from the head down.
The ripple comes before the stick.
That's right.
Question number 12. What institution of society or structural aspect of modern life would you change given the chance?
I would abolish the government completely. Actually, no, I might not. Oof. I might have fucked it all up right there. One decision. I don't know how to back out of this motherfucker. I really don't. If we just abolish the government, the corporations are going to run rimshot, and I don't trust them really right now a bunch either. but I don't like what the government's doing. I think I would let's just dissolve the unions. Let's do that. So Canada isn't a thing anymore. The United States aren't a thing anymore. But Alberta's a thing. Michigan's a thing. Florida's a thing. Maybe we have a loose affiliation like the EU, but less than that even. The EU's a little fucking bit much, carried away. You can't have a tea kettle. Go fuck yourself. But I don't need a passport, and I'm not doing a checkpoint between all these states either. I think the centralization of power is the biggest problem we're facing today, and I don't see that it's getting better. Hopefully it will soon. I mean, that's one of the things where it almost seems like we'd do better if we had some level of infrastructure breakdown to just slow this motherfucker down.
We're controlled by the infrastructure, whether it's the media,
we're 100 or 200 years into this experiment, and now we've got it so that we're all tracked and traced and fucking this is unprecedented power for a small group of people, and it needs to be changed. I don't think it's going to change, but if you give me the magic wand, that's what I would probably do. Is, I'd need some time to run some numbers and figure out the exact level of decentralization I'm comfortable with without being responsible for a bunch of like starvation and unrest. But if you give me a week, I'll come up with some numbers.
What about just someone we had a guest, Provo Kid, had suggested? I think we asked him a bonus question. His answer was to convene like a new constitutional like Congress, but except have people like relevant people like.
Oh no! See, I don't agree with that either.
Oh.
Here's what I'm telling you. All right, that this is the other one I pitch all the time. Is it's all draft or jury duty style. Boom.
Lottery.
Fucking bill opens up the mail. Motherfucker, I got to go do Congress for 2 years. Son of a bitch. I want you to be pissed. But you got to do it, and you're not making a ton of money either. It's just going to pay you the same amount of money you'd be making if you're at your job. And I mean, Congress isn't supposed to be there the whole time either. You should probably just be working at your job most of the time. And we're going to fill out for those couple of times you have to go to Washington and make a vote. And you're going to make that vote based on what your constituents want, because they're not going to have these fucking parties anymore. Because, we did have a pretty good system going for us over here. We got all fucked up now, but I think if people didn't get the choice on whether or not they wanted to be politicians, that would be a step in the right direction.
I'd love it as long as you get a system that can randomly choose, that's non-influenceable,
like jury duty. Then maybe there's like a quick interview too. So if we get Adam in there and he drops a bunch of N-bombs, we're like, maybe not this one. I'm not saying that Adam would do that. Different Adam, obviously. This Adam is not racist at all, but you'd want to defend against that somehow, or maybe you just let her back. Fuck it.
No, I mean, you're representing your constituents and the people in your community, so ultimately, you live and die based on what people really want.
I want to see constituents having more say in what goes on, mostly out of a curiosity to see what these motherfuckers really think. I really want to know what the general public, where they lie in. I do. I don't know. I don't know if the government's my enemy or if the rest of the population is my enemy. I honestly don't right now. Do 70% of these people think that all the shit that I think is crazy?
I don't think so.
Or does the TV just try and convince the news and all that, try and convince you that's the number, and it's really not like that? So I'd really like to see some way of really knowing.
All I can do is gauge the people I know, but
the shot's a good one right now, because it seems to, if you didn't get that shot, it seems like we agree on a lot more stuff. And if you did, it seems like we don't. So, I mean, that's perfect. That's like a deal breaker for me. I wouldn't date someone or be romantically involved, or I would never marry no one who got those shots. I think that's just a liability I don't want to take on.
Yeah, I'm grateful I don't have to deal with that dating scene anymore. Like I can't even imagine dealing with that. Like it's
I mean, I don't care. I'm not like I was on those apps and stuff for a while, but they're too much for me. I'm not wired for that kind of stuff. I'm just an old fashioned guy, man. So it's fine. I I'm fine with it.
The apps make
Maybe I
it.
won't have to deal with it long. I don't like to think of it as dating. It's more like finding a nice girl and then, working. I don't know what the word is, but I don't like date multiple women. You know what I mean? I kind of just try and find a girl at a time, and hopefully if things work out, then you don't have to keep looking ever again. But I haven't got there yet so far. I thought I was there once or twice, but shit went south.
It's almost. I think that the apps are a little bit
Maybe you should dehumanizing. That's what I call them.
Yeah.
They're fucking dehumanizing. I didn't like myself going through that thing.
It makes you. I don't know. You're supposed to have a little bit of.
I didn't like it. We should just be talking to each other like the good old days.
Yeah.
No. I like job interviews. They're awesome.
Nah, it does kind of come across like that, eh? It does.
The worst part's the pictures. I remember having to.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty photogenic, so it ain't so bad. I have a hot date this Saturday. I'm excited. I don't know if it's a hot date. What's a hot date? Just what's the difference between a regular date and a hot date? I'm excited. Does that make it a hot date?
It makes it. It's not blind, so.
Oh no, it's not blind.
Right. That makes it a hot date. Any not.
Oh, is that what it is? So any not blind date is a hot date?
I think so. I think that's how that works.
Huh. The more you know.
It-
Did you make that up?
I did.
All right. I like that. You had me going. I'm going to go with that.
Run it. Run with it. Question number 13.
This is the last one.
It is. This is our capstone. We've been calling the 13th question the capstone question because I like stuff with alliteration in it. So, but yeah. So this time it's different, obviously, and this is a new question that has been used as a bonus question in past episodes, but I don't think that we've had it in the regular mix. So trying something new here. It is, if you could give one sentence of advice to future generations, what would it be?
Make sure that you're writing the script for your life. Every bit of it. From your day to your week to your where you're headed. It doesn't have to be like exact. But in my experience, things really come into focus or have a way of working out better if you have a rough idea of where you want to head, where you want to end up. Don't just take that job out of fucking school because it's there. It's easy things. Oh, I need a job. You know, what do you want to do what do you want out of life? Really think about what you want out of life and go after it. Don't be a bitch about it. It's not going to be easy. And you don't fail until you quit. Or give up. Maybe quit's a bad word. We all quit eventually. Eventually I'll, quit doing stuff that I get sick of but you don't give up. No, maybe quit works. Whatever. You don't fail. I mean, you fail at I failed at everything I did a bunch of times before I did it.
As long as you're breathing, the game's still going.
Well, I think that that's probably one of the number one keys to being successful on any level is the ability to just say, all right, well, that didn't work. Now what?
Yeah, I think the giving up or quitting, like you're right. It doesn't. There's still failures, but it's when you accept them and you give up and quit. Like it's the acceptance of not trying. Then you've qualified that as such, and then it will be a failure because you've said it is. But if you're able to not give up and not quit, then you're not failing because you're continuing to progress, right?
Exactly. You're just working at it.
Process.
That was fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a great. It is now 11:11. So it's a perfect time to end on. I think a little synchronicity there. And yeah, is there anything that you want the listeners to be aware of in regards to upcoming like CAC events or I don't know special guests on Grimerica Outlawed that you want people to know about?
Oh, no, not really. If they just go to Grimerica.ca, that'll get them to everything. Everything is in the menu from there. The audiobooks, the books, tours, all fun stuff. I recommend a tour. I mean, that people seem to like them. It changed people's lives.
No,
Not by design. It was an accident that just happened.
if you can get to a CAC event, definitely go. Like Bill said, they are awesome and amazing life-changing experiences. So
He ended up married.
I know, man.
It's like it was our pre-honeymoon.
Go to CAC, find a girl.
Well, I brought her with me. I didn't find her there.
Oh, that's true. You found her in the chats.
I
In the
did.
Grimerica chats. A few people, there's this weird thing where there's like 3 running relationships out of the chats, like long term now, where we're like years into some relationships
Yeah.
of people that met in the Grimerica chats, and they were even like long distance at first, and they're living together now.
Mine was longer.
But you're the first ones to get married.
Yep, we claim that the marriage title.
Yeah. Huh. I should send y'all a gift.
Oh,
Send me your address. I'll send you guys a gift.
I will. I'll text it to you when we get off the phone or the call, and I'll send you some stickers. I'm going to send you guys some stickers. I don't know why I haven't done that before. So
Chocolate.
yeah. And chocolate. Yeah. I'll do
Don't
it.
tell them there's chocolate in there. They'll probably take it away. Those fucking losers.
Yeah, I'll make sure that
It's ceremonial,
I just write
Darren.
hats. I just write hats and T-shirts. That's all I ever write on the drugs that I ship.
I write trinkets on anything I ship, and then it's
Yeah, that's a good
just
idea. 'Cause
general.
someone wrote CBD on one of them, and the fuckers stole it. It came with a big piece of tape over it that said Canada Border Services. And I'm not convinced you can ship. Well, maybe you can. I mean, it might be fine. It might. I just wouldn't write it on there.
But yeah, dude. I don't think I need to ask you for a bio. So this episode will most likely be out next weekend.
Great. Appreciate it, boys.
Thank you.
Darren, right back at you, my friend. I mean, for everything that you've done, I'm into podcasting because of you. I'm here because of you. Bill's here because of you. Bill's married because of you. This is just a small microcosm of the world. So to everything that you've done, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Thanks. I mean, you make me cry. I just, I don't think I really did that stuff. You guys just did all that stuff.
Following your dreams inspires other people. Surround yourself with those types of people. It's the same type of thing, man. When you're seeing David Goggins, what can he do because he did this? Well, I mean, you don't have to believe in yourself. You can believe in somebody else and fake it until you made it. So, thank you.
Yeah, that's true. You never know who's looking. You never know who's watching. So it's a good reason to be trying your best.
Absolutely.
All right, boys. Thanks again.
Right back at you.
See ya.
Later, Darren. Thank you so much. Oof, that was cool, man.
That's freaking cool, right?
Why is one man rich and another man poor? Why we ain't satisfied? Why we gotta have more? Why your suicide rates on the rest so high? Why I tell you the truth but you say don't lie? Why is being a good father at an all-time low? Why is it acceptable? Yo, why I don't know. Why she blame him and he blame her? It's useless. Ask yourself this question. Why you making excuses? Why do parents gotta bury their kids? Why we text and drive, not caring how scary it is? Why it's so hard to forgive and leave the past behind? And if you did, then that's divine. Why don't you help your brother when you see him fall? Why do we act like God don't see it all? Why do we call them black, them white, them Asians and use labels? Now that's racism.
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why is there innocent people locked up for life, while some people can't say nothing nice? Why do we always gotta question what all of it means? And why won't you follow your dreams? Tell me why. The night when you took my dad, why'd you let me see my grandpa cry? And tell me why. And why do you choose to hide, even though you was born to fly? And tell me why. And why don't we turn from all the hate? And why don't we learn from all mistakes? Why do I keep on wrecking these fat beats? And teachers don't make more than professional athletes? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why? And why?
I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii.
Why?
I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why? I don't wanna Hawaii. I don't wanna Hawaii. Why?
This should be considered entertainment and not therapy. We hope you benefit from our resources available at 13questionspodcast.com. Thank you for listening.